we've got Alexa ripping it up in Ottawa.
Oh, she's so good.
She got Sean Fraser, who's the Minister of Justice, who failed at housing, I believe, refuses to answer questions about skyrocketing anti-Semitism in Canada. We have the Israelis issuing travel warnings about Canada at this point. It feels like something our justice minister should be prepared to answer, but the question came out of the wrong mouth, I guess.
Any comment about the government, the Israeli government publication about the level 2 of safety for Israeli living in or traveling in Canada? Are you going to address the hate march taking place in our streets since more than a year and a half?
They're not interested in an interview right now, folks.
Sorry, guys, we're just on our way. Well, what would you say to the people, the Jewish people and people from Israel that live here, who live in fear since more than a year and a half? You have nothing to say as the government in place?
What about
why you
about independent journalists such as myself who's been assaulted multiple times by the Cape
Yeah, that's right, Chris.
Yeah, Chris Dacey.
Document these things, and I'm attacked regularly by members of these marches. Ottawa police often threaten me with arrest for trying to document it.
Yeah,
how do you feel that Hamas, the terrorist organization, thanks your government for the statement issued with Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron? Are you happy that Hamas thanks your government?
So I'm not doing an interview right now. I'm just on my way to a meeting.
Do you think that the Liberals should be more accountable by alternative media as independent media? Do you think we should have the rights to report inside of the parliament? So you would not have to do an interview while you are walking?
I think it's a fair question. I've been arbitrarily banned from the House of Commons.
Do you think freedom of the press is important in a democracy? Yes or no? Anything to say about that? Freedom of the press is actually important.
He doesn't even know where he's going. He's just
Thank
trying to
you.
get away.
Have a good day.
You know what? Every one of her questions were valid questions, and none of them would be asked by the corrupt mainstream media in Canada. None. 0%. She is a little spitfire, Canada. We are lucky to have her on our team.
And here's the thing. Ottawa is wriggling with journalists. It's a snake pit of journalists. Yes. They're everywhere. Throw a handful of gravel, you hit 20 journalists. Problem with that is those journalists are subsidized, and that subsidy buys laziness, for starters. They don't have to work for their money.
Right. It buys a free pass to be lazy. Yes.
But it also buys a free pass to the people giving the subsidy, and that's the likes of Sean Fraser, right? So you don't press Sean Fraser because all of a sudden the subsidies will dry up, and we saw them make those threats during the campaign. Today, by the way, is 600 days of captivity for the Israeli hostages still held by Gaza. My God. The Israeli government is issuing travel warnings about Canada. There are hate marches on the street constantly. And yet that same subsidized media will go after the one media outlet asking the questions about the treatment of Jews in Canada and call us far-right, neo-Nazi adjacent, Hitlerian, you name it. But they're the ones siding with the people who feel the same way about Israel as the Nazis.
Well, because the mainstream media is being paid to maintain the false narrative that the government sets on their behalf. So if you're part of that corrupt mainstream media, somebody had a line this last weekend that I thought was excellent. When you take the shekels, you get the shackles. And so when you take the money from the federal government, there is a complicit agreement that you are not going to touch certain subjects, and the subjects that you are allowed to touch and report on are going to be handled in a manner that is acceptable to the people that are paying you. who is the federal government. It is crazy that they have to run sprints around Sean Fraser and his helper there to ask basic questions. But again, none of the questions that Alexa asked there, or Chris Stacey for that matter, were out of line or in any way not part of the conversation that we're having outside of the mainstream media narrative. And they should have been pretty simple to answer. They should have been pretty simple to answer. And that they refuse it is such an insult to the people of Canada, because these are questions that the people of Canada want answers to. And by their refusal, they are telling you, the good people of Canada, that you are not worthy of their time or of answers.
A walk and talk doesn't take any more time than a walk, by the way.
Right.
When he's like, oh, I've got a meeting to go to. Okay, great. I'll walk with you. You can answer while we walk. A walk and talk
Right.
doesn't take any more. Like, it doesn't, you don't have to, I don't know. Maybe Sean Fraser is that dumb that he has to stop and talk because he can't walk and talk at the same time. I guess
Maybe
if
that's it.
the argument that he's going to make, okay, have it your way, dealer's choice.
Yeah.
But a walk and talk doesn't take any time. A walk and talk does, however, take respect. And Sean Fraser has none of that for the Canadian people.
No, it's gross. It's gross. It's gross privilege is what it is, on full display for everyone. So enjoy.
Yep. It doesn't end, though. Doesn't end, because we've got Bill Blair, who got out of his slippies and put a suit on to go down to the Parliament. Liberal MP Bill Blair, failed police chief of Toronto. If you're wondering why Toronto is so bad, well, it started with Bill Blair, and he failed upward. And so he came to life. They dusted him off, pulled him out of the sarcophagus, and sent him out to the Parliament. And Alexa caught him too. So again, I want to reiterate: these guys are wandering around the streets of Ottawa all the time, unaccosted by the media.
Right.
Any other journalist could be asking these questions. Why is it just Alexa? Because Alexa is not paid by the government. Let's listen to old man Blair avoid a question.
The rise of extremism, because the Israeli government have just issued a level 2 travel warning to Israeli and Jewish people. Are you going to do something with the people who are protesting, the anti-Israel protester, and the rise of extremism here in Canada?
I think the police have the tools that they need to manage that situation, to maintain safety for everybody here in Canada.
Yeah, but the Liberal government wants to bring thousands of unvetted Gazan refugees.
I'm not sure where you're getting that information, ma'am. That's not consistent with what my understanding of the situation is.
What, you're going to bring Gazan refugees, no?
Again, that's not my understanding.
So are you saying that you are renouncing to it now?
No, ma'am. I'm not renouncing anything. What you have just articulated is not my understanding of the situation.
That you're not going to welcome thousands of Gazan refugees from Gaza.
There's always people who are seeking refuge.
Thank you.
Old man Blair's crazy because the Canadian government is being sued because we're not, by refugee claimants, by the way, because we're not taking even more.
Enough. We're not taking enough. Yes.
I just flipped it to the kids in the studio. Might take a little bit because, we're doing this new thing just to get through the day. It's not always going to be like this, viewers at home. We're just trying to get through the day. But it's from the Canadian government, from the Immigration Ministry, and it's for temporary resident visas from Gaza. The 5,000 cap is full. It's closed to new applications for now, but there are lawsuits trying to up that amount. And those applications are not just for one person. They're like families. See that cap, 5,000 temporary resident visas. So these are refugee visas. So it's full already. And it was full in 2023. And these are for families, not just for one claimant. Anyway, so
but his crazy. But his response is so lazy. Well, that's not my understanding. Well, what is your understanding? Well, that's not my understanding. Well, could you elaborate on what is your understanding? Like laziness personified. But this could also be a situation where this brand new Liberal cabinet doesn't know, like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing because they haven't received direction yet. So that could also be part of this. But yeah, Bill Blair, like what a lazy answer. What a lazy answer.
Yeah, Alexa should just check her bank account to make sure it hasn't been frozen by that old kook.
And if you appreciate Alexa's reporting, guys, do send her some money via Rebel News because you know she is just one of the scrappiest, most resilient street reporters in the country, and she's got no fear. And we just need a lot more women like her in the world. So yeah, do support Alexa by supporting Rebel News. She's a treasure.
She's fearless to a fault where it becomes hard to manage. I'm like, that's not safe. You can't do that. Alexa, you don't have security. You can't. Don't go.
She's like, I'm gonna.
Security. I know.
I'm going.
Don't. And Sheila's saying, no, please don't go. We try not to send her out in harm's way, but harm tends to find her because she's in Quebec and
she's amazing.
Show there, yeah, she's
amazing,
fearless. I just don't want to have to call her mom and say that she's been hurt. So
right.
Alexa wasn't done because then she got Ahmed Hussen. And he refuses to answer any questions about Israel raising its alert level for travelers heading to Canada. At least Bill Blair answered, honestly. He didn't have an answer, but at least he stopped to talk, which I guess is good.
What is this? What is this?
What's happening here?
What?
Let's watch.
Looks like a pride parade.
Any word, Mister, about the Israeli government warning?
You know the real
It's not real news.
Leave us alone.
It's not real news.
I'm sorry. Do you believe that
Can you leave me
the
alone?
public servant should be accountable?
Leave me alone. Journalists
You
should be
believe
accountable.
on
Do that real
the
news.
freedom of press? You believe on freedom of the press?
You're not a real journalist. Stop pretending to be one.
What
You're not
do
a
you
real
mean
journalist.
we are not?
You're not.
We are bringing
You're
politicians accountable.
You're not a real journalist. Rebel News is
So you
not
don't
a real-
believe on freedom of the
You're
press?
not, but you're not press.
I'm
You-
press.
You are not.
Yeah, I
You're
do.
not. You're registered as a lobbying.
So what is it for you, a
organization.
journalist?
You're not.
What is
I
it
mean,
for you, a journalist?
A non-partisan media house that's recognized.
So you think that
Rebel
CBC
Rebel News
is
not-
completely
Rebel News
neutral?
is not a
So
journalism
you think that
outlet.
CBC is neutral?
You're not a journalist. Stop
I'm
pretending to
asking
be
you.
one.
Wow.
Sir, where is that accent from again? Like, did I just, I don't, as a native Canadian, like as a fifth generation native Canadian, I don't quite recognize where that accent is from. So if Alexa isn't a real journalist, does that make him not a real Canadian? Is that about right? Is that about right?
Well, and he said she's a registered lobbyist. She's not a registered lobbyist. She's a journalist doing journalism because being a journalist is a thing you do. It's an action. It's not a guild you join. And if you have to be approved by the government, if you have to be approved by the people you are reporting on, are you a reporter at all or are you just a repeater?
Well, and Unifor, the union that represents mainstream Canadian journalists, are registered third-party lobbyists.
Right.
So every single person that Ahmed Hussein kikis with on the media side, the corrupt mainstream media, well, then they are all put in that same boat too of not being journalists. If the level of professionalism starts and ends with whether you are registered as a third-party lobbyist. They are all in the same boat. Like, what a weak man. Go hug your friend on the street at the Pride Parade. Look at him.
We don't talk to Rebel News. We have this clip, and I don't know if the kids in the studio will be able to find it, of Ahmed Hussein and Justin Trudeau reading the exact same script about Rebel News in the House of Commons. Hussein did it first, and then Trudeau did it later. And I think one of them called this like Rebel Magazine. Like they had no idea what they were saying, but some staffer had given them the exact same script, and like AI bots, I guess. They just
read off it.
They just read it, didn't believe any of it, or maybe they did, but they're just not bright enough to formulate their own thoughts. Here it is. Watch this, because I watched the House of Commons, and so I caught Hussein doing it, and then I caught Trudeau doing it. I was like, guys, they read the exact same script, and we put it together so that people can see what a bunch of just
plagiarizing lunatics these are.
Robots. They're just robots.
It is disappointing to see the Conservatives and the member opposites engage in peddling rebel media conspiracy theories.
It is disappointing to see the Conservatives engage in peddling rebel media conspiracy theories.
It is disappointing
To see the Conservatives
engage in peddling
rebel media
conspiracy theories. It is disappointing to see the Conservatives engage in peddling rebel media conspiracy theories.
That's a great edit.
Engage in peddling rebel media conspiracy theories.
Yeah, a bunch of idiots. They did it like, I don't know, a couple weeks apart, but just grab a piece of paper and read it, because that's all they do. He doesn't even know why he doesn't like us, except that we're prickly.
Well, aside from the fact that Rebel News says things that are inconvenient for them and that they can't defend. This is why they don't like Rebel News, is because you tell Canadians the truth while they're busy whipping up their corrupt mainstream media validation circles. You don't toe that line. Rebel News tells the other side of the story. We're clear and upfront about that. I'm proud of that, to be completely honest. There's a reason why the federal government doesn't like Rebel News, and it's because we tell you the truth. Oh, are you there, Sheila Gunn Reid?
I'm still here. Still here. Yeah, I mean, I think people can see my bias. I've never ever claimed to be unbiased. The difference between me and the CBC is that I am honest about it. You know where I'm coming from. I don't think that I could or should ever hide it from you. You know the lens through which I'm speaking. CBC, and here's the thing. You don't have to pay for it if you don't want to. This stream's free right now.
Right.
If you don't,
nobody is forcing you.
Nobody's forcing you. We are forced to pay for the CBC, who, by the way, have their own little lobby group. Let us never forget Friends of CBC, which is now Friends of Canadian Media. Because they CBC-ified all of the Canadian media by giving them all them handouts. I mean, you just pulled it into the mother corp. And yeah, it's good URL. I'll give them that, friends.ca. Help protect Canadian voices in the Canadian media. What they mean is help protect liberal Canadian voices in the Canadian media. They don't care about the rest of us. When they say diversity, they don't mean diversity of viewpoints ever. I think they mean diversity of like visuality. They don't care about anything else. They don't care that you might have a different point of view at all. But they have their own lobby group, Friends of Canadian Media.
They sure do. So according to Hussein there, that should preclude him from answering any questions from them too.
Right.
If he were to apply the same standard. But then again, we know that there are double standards in Canadian politics and in Canadian media, and he just showed us a perfect example of those double standards.
Karina Gould. You'll remember Karina Gould from her warm embrace of an actual geriatric Nazi in the House of Commons, because these people are so Russia deranged that they were like, yeah, Yaroslav Hunka, he fought the Russians, and it was like,
whose side was whose side were the Russians? Yeah. Oof.
They applauded and brought into the House of Commons, and then brought into the Prime Minister's office an SS soldier from Ukraine.
Sure did.
World War II.
Sure. Oh, there he is.
Speaking of dusting people off and dragging them out of the sarcophagus, here's Yaroslav Hunka. an actual Nazi, so I'm going to be as unkind as possible. And there's Karina Gould saying,
Holding
"Why not
hands.
holding hands with an actual Nazi, like
Yep.
as close to living demons as you can get, a Nazi."
Yeah.
And she's clutching his hand. And so Alexa thought perfect lady to ask about the problems with Hamas hate marches, considering Hamas feels the same way about the state of Israel and the Jews as old Yaroslav Hunka does. So let's hear what Karina Gould has to say.
Any statement to say about the recently level 2 warning issue of the Israeli government for the Israeli living in or traveling in Canada? Do you have maybe something to say? Are you going to do something regarding the hate march taking place in our streets since October 7, 2023? Nothing to say? Nothing to say maybe for the diaspora who live in fear since a year and a half? More than that. Nothing to say? Do you think it was ethical to run the campaign on we want to fight the Americans, while the other side, you actually lift the counter tariff quietly that nobody knew about it?
Justice or consent?
Consent. Yeah. Do you think it was ethical? You don't regret to have lied to Canadian? You are going to remove 800 jobs at Passport Canada. We already know like the mismanagement of Passport Canada in the past. Do you have any concern about maybe not giving the service that Canadians are paying for? Are you going to do a reform to make sure that the services are well and good for Canadians instead of spending over money for bureaucracy? Thank you. Have a great day.
How do these people sleep at night? Like, how does she sleep at night behaving that way?
Honestly, how would we know if they laid off 800 people at the passport office?
They could literally lay off all of them and there would be no difference in service.
Yeah. I just, like how, answer the question. Again, it's a walk and talk. It doesn't take any more time to talk while you walk to where you're going. But as I said, it takes respect, and they have none for the people who it's their job to hold them to account.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Zero accountability, no transparency.